My people, if you see wetin Lagos man use my ICN, but I no go blame am sha, because love they do me. My name is Laura, and this is my story. Not because I want your pity, I don't need that anymore, but because I know that somewhere out there, somebody is doing exactly what I was doing. Giving everything, receiving almost nothing, and calling it love. Let me gist you.
My mates are at the suya spots. My best friend Tulu is sending me voice notes about some fine guy her friend brought. The kind of fine that makes you reconsider your entire life plan. And where am I? I'm on my knees, on this man's kitchen floor, scrubbing. And the worst part, I was happy. Like genuinely, completely happy. Singing some old bracket song I only half remember the words to, scrubbing that floor like it was my purpose on this earth. Because in my mind, that's what love looked like. You show up, you do things, you make somebody's life better just by being in it. That was my definition of love. Daniel was on the sofa, shoes still on, feet up on the coffee table I had wiped clean 1 hour before, football on TV, volume loud. He hadn't looked toward the kitchen once. Not once. Then, without turning, without moving, without even lowering the volume, "Laura, remote battery don't finish. You see battery for the drawer." I looked at my rubber gloves. I looked at the half-scrubbed tiles still wet beside me. I looked at the soapy water in the bucket. I got up, found the batteries, walked to the living room, held them out. He took them without looking at me. "Thanks." One word. I stood there for just a moment, looking at the back of his head, his perfect low fade, his gold chain catching the warm lamplight, and something in me registered something I didn't have a name for yet. Not pain exactly, just weight, a quiet, invisible weight. Then I smiled, went back to the kitchen, kept scrubbing. That moment right there, that was the whole story. I just didn't know how to read it yet. The next morning, I rushed into my own apartment at 8 a.m. 9 o'clock lecture. 45 minutes, shower, change, run. And then my phone rang. Daniel. I picked up on the first ring. I always picked up on the first ring. That was just a fact about me at that point, like breathing. "You left without making breakfast." I stopped moving. "Baby, I have lecture by 9. I have work by 8. Which one is more important?" Now, I want you to pause here with me for a second. This fully grown, working, able-bodied man called me at 8 a.m. to tell me I had failed him by not making his breakfast. And what did I do? I texted my course rep, signed my attendance, family emergency, and I went back to make Daniel's food. I left my own unwatered plant, my own unopened textbooks, my own unfinished life, and I went back to take care of his. Tulu used to say, "Love shouldn't feel like a debt you're always trying to pay off." I used to nod, smile, and go back and do the same thing. Because that's the thing about being in love. Nobody can tell you anything. Your brain hears the words, but your heart has already decided it knows better. You think you're choosing love. You don't realize you're choosing to disappear. Let me tell you about Tulu, because she deserves her moment in this story. Tulu is always eating something. Always. I have never once seen this woman sit down without food somewhere on her person. She is slim, which is a biological mystery I have fully accepted and moved on from. And she eats like she's training for a competition that nobody knows is happening. But underneath all the chin-chin and the gala and the jollof rice she somehow always has, Tolu sees everything. She was watching me disappear in real time, and she was furious on my behalf. One afternoon in the university cafeteria, alarming amount of food in front of her as usual, she looked at me and said, "Laura, when last did you do your hair? When last did you buy yourself something? When last did you go anywhere that wasn't his house or his errand?" Before she could answer, "And don't say last month, because last month you cancelled my birthday dinner to go pick up his dry cleaning." She was right. Completely, entirely, devastatingly right. I looked down at my hands and my nails were chipped. I hadn't even noticed. I used to always keep them neat. Nothing expensive, just mine. I closed my fingers so I couldn't see them. He loves me, Tulu. She put down her meat pie. If you know Tulu putting down her meat pie is the equivalent of another person standing up and flipping a table. She looked at me with the most serious face I have ever seen on her and said, "Does he?" Because love is supposed to feel like something you receive, not just something you give until you're empty. My phone rang. Daniel. First ring. Tolu watched me answer, picked her meat pie back up, started chewing slowly. She had planted the seed. She just had to wait for me to be ready to water it.
What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known sitting in that cafeteria hiding my chipped nails, was that at that exact same time, on Victoria Island, a woman named Joy was walking into Daniel's office for the very first time. And nothing would ever be quite the same after that.
Let me tell you about Joy. And I want to be honest, because this story only works if I'm completely honest. Joy didn't do anything wrong. She came to work at Daniel's company as the new HR officer. She was professional, she was warm, she was good at her job. She also happened to be, and I say this with full acknowledgement of what it cost me to accept it, absolutely, completely, undeniably stunning. Honey brown skin that glowed like she was lit from inside. Long, sleek, straight hair, always perfectly laid, like gravity itself was working specifically for this woman. Petite, but with a body that was dangerously, unreasonably curvy, the kind of figure that causes problems in rooms she has already left. Always dressed like she had somewhere important to be, even when she was just walking to the printer. And she smelled. People actually mentioned this to each other. She smelled extraordinary, like something warm and expensive that doesn't have a name yet. She walked into Daniel's office one afternoon with onboarding paperwork. 5 minutes, she said. Just need your signature. Daniel looked up from his documents and forgot what documents were. I wasn't there. I didn't see it happen, but I knew Daniel. I knew him, and I know exactly what that moment looked like. The half second too long before he found his voice. The way he would have straightened his shirt without realizing, run his hand over his already perfect fade. Joy didn't notice any of this. She was just doing her job. That was the beginning of my ending. The changes came small at first. That's how it always starts. Small enough that you can explain each one away on its own. It's only when you line them all up together that you see the shape of what's been happening. He started coming home later, stopped texting back as fast, became distracted in a way that was new. Not tired distracted, not work distracted, somewhere else distracted, like part of him had already left the conversation before his body did. And then, and this one still sits in a specific uncomfortable place in my chest, he started criticizing me. Your hair needs doing, Laura. This food is too salty, Laura. You've been wearing that style for how long now? Said casually, like observations, not attacks, but I heard them. And instead of saying, "Excuse me, who are you talking to?" I internalized every single word. I woke up earlier to cook before he was awake, tried new hairstyles, looked up new recipes. I tried harder. When someone starts criticizing you and your response is to try harder to please them, that is not love. That is fear wearing love's clothes. I know that now. I didn't know it then. The night I cooked egusi soup from scratch, that night broke something in me that I didn't admit was broken until much, much later. I had called his mother, his actual mother, found her number in his phone, called her, told her I wanted to learn her recipe. She spent 45 minutes with me, every step, every proportion, every family secret. She sounded so happy I called. She said Daniel was lucky to have me. I cooked for 2 hours. Pounded yam, fried fish, golden, exactly the way he liked it. The apartment smelled incredible. I had done my hair that day. I was wearing lip gloss. I had even remembered to water my own plant before coming over. I heard his key in the door. I turned from the stove smiling. The real smile, the full one. "Baby, you're just in time. The egusi just..." He walked in, put his bag down, looked at the kitchen. "Oh, you cooked." "Oh, you cooked." Like he had come home to find I had moved a cushion. A mild, forgettable observation about a mild, forgettable thing. I already ate. Team lunch. I forgot to tell you. He went to the bedroom to change. I stood at that stove. His mother's recipe. 2 hours. I had called his mother. I didn't cry. I covered the pot. I plated his food anyway, wrapped it neatly in foil, put it in the fridge in case he got hungry later. Then I started washing up. If someone had walked into that kitchen and seen me still moving, still tidying, still taking care, they would never have known. But something had cracked, very quietly, very deep. And while I was standing at that sink washing up his pot, Daniel was on his phone. My good morning message from that morning was still sitting there, unread. He wasn't reading mine. He was texting her. I found out on a Saturday afternoon. Not from a phone, not from Tulu, not from a dramatic confession or a fight that finally said everything. I found out the way you find out the things that change you forever. By accident. In broad daylight, in the middle of a Lagos market. Tolu and I were doing food shopping, a rare normal Saturday, the kind we used to have before I became Daniel's full-time everything. She was eating puff-puff from a brown paper bag. I was comparing the price of tomatoes with the focus of a woman who had been doing someone else's grocery shopping for 2 years without being asked to. We turned a corner of the market. And there he was, Daniel, with Joy. They went touching, went kissing. If someone had taken a photograph, there was nothing in it that a lawyer could use as evidence of anything. They were just standing outside a boutique on the main road, talking. But he was holding her shopping bags, both of them, without being asked. And he was laughing. The whole face kind of laughing, the kind that uses every single part of you, at something she had just said. And then she turned to look at something in the boutique window, and Daniel watched her turn, with a look on his face that I had never, not once, not in 2 years, not when I scrubbed his floors on Friday nights, not when I cooked his mother's recipe for 2 hours, not when I cancelled everything and showed up and kept showing up. I had never seen that look directed at me. He was looking at her the way I had been looking at him. The bags in my hands got very heavy. Tolu saw it before I had fully processed it. She reached over without a word and took one of my bags from me. Across the market, Daniel held the boutique door open for Joy, waited, smiled as she walked through, let the door close gently behind them. I stood there. Around me, tomatoes, pepper, generators, noise, the full, relentless, beautiful volume of Lagos on a Saturday afternoon. Inside me, silence. The complete, total silence of understanding something you can never ununderstand. Tolu said my name softly. I took my bag from her, turned back to the tomatoes. Let's finish the shopping. I didn't cry. Didn't call him, didn't cause a scene. I picked up 3 tomatoes, examined them like they were the most important tomatoes in Lagos, and put them in my bag. Tolu put away her puff-puff. If you knew Tolu, you know that Tolu putting away food without finishing it has never happened before in recorded history. She lost her appetite for me. We finished the shopping. I went home. That night, I sat on my bathroom floor. And for the first time in 2 years, I took care of myself. That night on my bathroom floor, I wasn't crying dramatically, not calling anyone, just sitting. The tap dripping, the specific quiet of Lagos very late at night when even the generators have found their rhythm and the city breathes slower. I looked around my bathroom. All the products I hadn't used because I was always somewhere else. Body lotion, 3/4 full, bought 6 months ago. Hair treatment sitting in the corner, unopened. Things I had bought for myself and quietly neglected because there was always something of his that needed doing first. I picked up the body lotion, opened it, and I began slowly to moisturize my own legs. Such a small thing. I know how it sounds, but I sat on that floor and took care of my own skin for the first time in I don't know how long, and I cried. Not loudly, not with drama, just quietly and completely, the way you cry when you finally stop lying to yourself. I wasn't crying about him. I was crying about me, about the girl who used to do her nails and water her plant and make plans and have a future and exist as a full person in her own right, and had slowly, lovingly, willingly handed all of that away. I picked up my phone, not to call Daniel. I called Tulu. I said, "You were right." And Tulu, my Tulu, who always has a comment, who was born with a response fully loaded, just said softly, "I know, baby, I know." That was all. That was everything. Here is what I did next, and this is the part people always get wrong when they imagine it. I didn't confront him. No long message, no dramatic scene, no performing my pain for an audience, no posting anything, not telling his friends. I just stopped. I stopped going over, stopped cooking, stopped answering on the first ring, then stopped answering at all. I didn't block him, I didn't ghost him with fanfare. I just redirected everything. All that love, all that effort, all that relentless showing up. I turned it completely around and pointed it at myself. The first week was strange. I didn't know what to do with my own time. I would reach for my phone to check if he had texted, catch myself, put it down. I would finish a lecture and realize I had nowhere to rush to, no food to start, no floor to scrub. Just me and my life, which I had been ignoring for so long it felt like a stranger's apartment. So I started. I cleaned my own place, not for anyone, just for me. Opened the windows, bought a new plant, healthy and green, the kind that comes back if you just start showing up. Pinned the schedule on my wall, classes, assignments, gym, time for myself, like my own life was something worth keeping an appointment with. And slowly, not overnight, not in a rush, I started coming back to myself. When Tolu saw me, she physically staggered backwards at her own door. "Laura, what? Your hair, what is that dress?" I had gotten my hair done properly, finally. But one good dress, nothing expensive, just something that fit me exactly the way I deserved to be fit. Put on my gold earrings again, simple ones, mine. She pulled me inside, produced chin-chin from somewhere on her person. I have stopped trying to understand this, and sat me down. "Are you going to talk to him?" "No." She stared. "Who are you?" I laughed. "I'm working on finding out." She looked at me for a long moment, really looked, the way Tolu does when she's being serious underneath all the food and the comedy, and something on her face went very soft. Then she pointed a piece of chin-chin at me and said, "You know I'm going to be insufferable about being right about this." "I know. For years, Laura, I will bring this up at your wedding, at your children's naming ceremony, when we are two old women sitting somewhere in the sun. I will still." I laughed. The real full one, the one I hadn't laughed in so long, I had forgotten the feeling of it leaving my body. Tolu laughed too, and then she reached over and squeezed my hand once. No more words, just that. Meanwhile, while I was finding myself again, Daniel was losing everything. Let me tell you what was happening with Daniel, because this is not just my story. It is also the story of what happens to a man who loses something he took for granted and only understands what it was worth after it is already gone. Joy, as it turned out, was not interested in Daniel, not even slightly. She was warm, professional, kind, and completely, consistently, gently unavailable to him in the way he wanted. He bought her lunch, she said thank you and split the bill. He offered to drive her home, she already had a ride. He stayed late at the office hoping to recreate the magic of one working evening together. She finished on time and left. Every single time he reached, she redirected. Not cruelly, she wasn't playing games. She simply did not see him that way. And then one morning, he arrived at work. Her desk was cleared. Resigned, better offer, a multinational in Abuja, left on Friday. Just like that. She was gone. The woman he had been chasing didn't want him. The woman who had loved him completely had stopped answering. 14 missed calls in 1 week, 3 voice notes, texts that started confident and got quieter with each one. I read every single one of them. I replied to none. Then one day, I picked up. Not because I wanted him back, but because I am not the kind of person who leaves things open and unfinished. I had things to say. Not for him, for me. To close the door properly with my own hands on my own terms. Laura, can we talk? Please, I've been calling. I know. You don't need to explain. Laura, I'm not angry, Daniel. Silence on the line. He had prepared for anger, had his apologies loaded, his explanations ready. Anger, he knew how to navigate. But this complete calm, he didn't know what to do with. Then what are you? He asked. I thought about it. A real moment of actually thinking. Done, I said. I'm just done. Laura, please, what we had, and it was real. I loved you. I really, genuinely loved you. But I forgot to love myself while I was doing it. And I can't do that anymore. Is there someone else? I almost laughed. Not meanly, just at the question, at how much it revealed. Daniel, there wasn't even properly a me for the last 2 years. I'm working on that first. A long silence. I miss you, he said. And here's the thing. I believed him. I think he genuinely missed me, but I think what he missed was the version of me that was always available, always cooking, always there at the first ring. I think he confused that comfort with love, and I think losing it was the first time he truly understood the difference between the two. I know, I said. I'm sorry. I hung up, sat at my desk, opened my textbook. I had an assignment due. I started writing. And that's when I met Marcus. Campus Architecture Exhibition. Tulu came because I mentioned free small chops. I was standing in front of one display. Beautiful. The kind that makes you feel something before you understand why. When someone stopped on the other side of it. Very tall, deep blue-black skin, the kind that looks carved, tailored charcoal suit, simple white shirt, no tie. This one is the best in the room, he said. I was thinking the same thing. He smiled, slow, warm, no agenda anywhere in it. We talked for an hour. He listened like someone genuinely interested, not waiting for his turn, not half present. He asked questions. He remembered things I said and came back to them. He asked who I cooked for. I thought of the egusi soup, the midnight breakfast, the jollof rice in foil. Myself, I said, these days. That's the right answer. Something tight in my chest for a very long time loosened. My phone buzzed. Daniel calling. I looked at his name for 1 full second, put the phone away. Can I get your number? Marcus asked. Yes, I said, and meant it completely. So, that's my story. I'm not going to tell you it didn't hurt, because it did. That specific quiet pain of realizing the problem, but you being too kind to yourself for too long. But here is what I know now. Love is not a competition to see who gives the most.